Hey, everybody, good day. Captain Lou here with another edition of Tigers Daily in partnership with the Fan Arts Network. Happy Wednesday, Hump Day, August the 5th, 2026. Before we get started, a reminder for those of you that haven't done it yet, we invite you to subscribe to our channel here on Tigers Daily. You get all the banner, you get all the updates, the good, the bad, and everything in between. We talk about the latest rumors, what's going on and off the field for the Tigers, talk about the game from the night before, and take a look ahead at what's on tap for the Tigers. And as always, for those of you that have subscribed to the channel, I say thank you very much. The response has been absolutely phenomenal. The viewership has been off the charts. And, of course, the banner, the comments, they've been excellent as well. So, again, welcome to the Tiger Daily family. For those of you that are just joining us for the first time, episode 35 starts now. Well, I know the question right there, Tariq who? Are we going to miss him? Well, of course we're going to miss him. It's just being a little sarcastic. But how about that dominant performance by Troy Melton last night in Game 1 of the three-game set against the Mariners in Seattle? 7 innings, 95 pitches, 3 hits, a couple of walks, 4 strikeouts. But he was pretty dominant last night in that 8-0 shutout win for the Tigers. 4th straight win, 72 runs. 72 runs they've scored in the last 7 games. My goodness. They probably only scored 72 runs the whole month of May in that disaster of a 6-22 month. Now, I know what you're going to say. It's just the Athletics and the Mariners in this 4-game winning streak. But you know what? A win's a win nonetheless. A road trip. These are wins Detroit had to have. And it was the perfect storm for the Tigers yesterday as the Twins lost, the Guardians lost, the White Sox lost. We'll go over the standings again a little bit later on in the show. But now Detroit is only a game and a half out of a playoff spot. 4.5 games now out of a wild card. So, hey, why not? Again, we'll talk about what they need to do to get to 85 wins at the end of the show or 83 wins. Those are kind of our benchmarks, if you will, our prediction of what it may take to get into the playoffs. But back to the game yesterday. Again, Troy Melton, 7 strong innings. We talked about it. 97 pitches, 66 strikes. Great to see that. Wagunspak, he got in the 8th inning. He got a strikeout and a walk, but again, his ERA now down to 166. Melton's is at 175. So Melton, could he be the new ace for the Tiger staff? It's exciting to watch him pitch. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll say it here in a minute, but let's take a look from the bats. Riley Green, it was good to see him kind of snap out of his funk. He got a home run to center field to make it 4-0. He reached on an infield single. They had a couple of errors, or 1 error for Seattle, but it was costly. Detroit got 3 runs in the 3rd inning, 1 in the 5th on that Green home run. McGonigal got an RBI as he grounded to second. And then Torres and Dingler, back-to-back home runs in the 9th inning. That proved to be the difference for the Tigers as they ended up winning 8-0. And check that. Yeah, 8-0. 8 runs, 13 hits, no errors. No runs, 4 hits, and 1 error for Seattle. So, again, a big win for the Tigers. And, they keep the momentum going. And that's huge now as they look to try to go for Game 2 coming up tonight. It's going to be a bullpen game. We'll talk about that momentarily. But kind of an interesting stat. Yelder Diaz was just called up as he takes the roster spot made open by the trade with Casey Mize. He pitched 1 scoreless inning, and his ERA went from 94 down to 37.8. So there you go. The Tigers with the win, 4th straight win, now a game and a half out of the wild card spot in the American League, 4.5 in the division. And I guess we could put the trade deadline and the trades to rest right now. What's done is done. Now, I know you may not agree with me, and that's fine. Like I say, there's no right or wrong answer as I read through the comments, and they've been fantastic, by the way. Again, I appreciate all the input and all the feedback and the banner back and forth. What's done is done. That's the mindset I'm going to take. Now we got to root for the Tigers. If you want them to still make the playoffs, which I think all of us do, now we got to focus on what's ahead. And that's with the Tigers. And I know it's kind of a makeshift rotation, but we'll talk about it in a second. But good luck to Skubal. Good luck to Mize. I hope they do well as long as they don't play against the Tigers. Now, Skubal pitched 6 innings yesterday. They're going to start calling him 6-inning Skubal. He got the loss yesterday. Really wasn't his fault as they lost 5-1 to the Cubs, but he gave up a couple of runs. He took the loss for the Cubs in his debut. So that's going to be the last time that we will take a look at what Skubal's doing because he's a Dodger now. And we're focused on the Tigers. But again, good luck to him and good luck to Casey Mize. I hope they do great things as long as they're not playing against our Detroit Tigers. All right, again, 8-0, a big win for the Tigers. 72 runs, as I mentioned, in the last 7 games. Absolutely amazing for the Tigers. The bats have definitely woke up. Game 2 coming up tonight for the Tigers. All right, as we take a look at the rotation yesterday on the show, we talked about how up in the air it was. We didn't know when the bullpen games were going to be. It looked like for a while yesterday it was going to be a bullpen game yesterday. We didn't know until yesterday afternoon that Melton was going to indeed pitch last night's game. And boy, did he do good, right? Obviously, the proof is in the pudding with that 8-0 shutout, 7 strong innings from Melton. Well, Drew Anderson's going to get the call today to start the game. It's going to be a bullpen game. So those, the gas can is there, the gas can that we call our bullpen. Let's hope they can keep the Mariners at bay as Anderson's going to pitch today. And then it looks like on Thursday it's going to be Framber Valdez in the finale for the Tigers against the Mariners. And then on Friday it's going to be Kiter Montero pitching for the Tigers. But then on Saturday, good news for this one. Excited to see what he can do. Jackson Jobe makes his return to the Tigers. He'll be on the bump Saturday. It's going to be a nationally televised game on Fox for the Tigers against the San Francisco Giants. So this big news for the Tigers. It's great to see him back in the lineup. We'll see what kind of a leash A.J. Hinch gives him on Saturday because as of right now, we don't have a starter lined up for Sunday. I'll double check that. But if I'm looking at it right, I beg your pardon. Melton's going to start on Sunday. It looks like a bullpen game potentially on Tuesday. But getting back to Jackson Jobe, he's going to start on Saturday, which is big news for the Tigers. Like I asked, what kind of a leash is he going to get? How many innings are they going to let Jackson Jobe pitch? I think he'll probably be on some kind of a pitch count. I would guess 70, 75 at the most for Jackson Jobe as he gets back into the lineup for the Tigers. But this is big news for the Tigers as they try to keep themselves in the American League playoff race. Now just a game and a half out of the wild card, 4.5 out of the Central Division. And so right now the Tigers, 4-0 on the road trip. Would love to see them keep it. Obviously, we would love to see them keep it going. But looking for win number 5 tonight. Drew Anderson gets the call in the bullpen game. So we'll see what happens with that. And then Valdez on Thursday rather. And Montero will start the weekend set in the Bay Area in San Francisco against the Giants. In other news for the Tigers, kind of some roster moves, if you will. Injury updates. Brant Herter, he's going to start on a rehab assignment, the left-handed pitcher in Lakeland. So we'll keep an eye on that. Now, Andre Granillo, he was DFA'd for the Tigers last week. Well, he cleared waivers. He was outrighted to Toledo. And as we mentioned, they recalled Yelber Diaz. He pitched the 9th inning yesterday for the Tigers in that 8-0 win. So kind of updates there. As far as the injury updates on the Tigers, some of the other ones, not so great news as far as Jack Flaherty. I'm not sure when he's going to be back. It sounded like his stint on the 15-day DL is going to take longer than they originally had hoped. We're hoping sometime in August he can get back. Now, that's not great news for the Tigers in their rotation, so we'll keep an eye on that. He has not resumed, as of the beginning of the week, he had not resumed throwing. So if we get an update on that, we'll share it with you tomorrow. Now, as far as Kerry Carpenter, he's expected to be back in mid-August. He had that cortisone injection in his left foot, so we'll keep an eye on that. And probably the other, with what happened this past weekend with the trade deadline, River Ryan. Now, it was hoped that he would potentially be back in the lineup within the next couple of weeks. He was put on the 7-day injured list for AAA Toledo, and that was updated as of yesterday. So that means he'll probably be out at least until mid to late August. They're hoping that he can start throwing bullpen sessions next week. We can get him back maybe with a rehab assignment, maybe get him back around the 20th of August. He would be a welcome addition to the Tiger rotation. If nothing else, another bullpen arm that we can always use in Detroit as we try to keep that, stay relevant in the race for the American League Central or the wild card. So those are some of the injured list reports. Wencel Perez, he started his rehab assignment for Single A Lakeland. He was 0 for 2 as a designated hitter, so we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see if they bring him back. And, of course, Matt Vierling, the other one, still to be determined. He's going to be out at least till next year. He's having hip surgery he had wrist surgery as well. So, I'm sorry, that was Will Vest. I get these guys all mixed up, Vest and Vierling. Vierling, we'll see what happens when he's going to be back. He was on the injured list effective July 31st. So some injury reports and lineup, some transaction updates. So again, the big one, we're looking at River Ryan. He was part of that package for Tarik Skubal. He's on the 7-day IL in Toledo. It looks like his target date will probably be more like August the 20th. So we'll keep you up to date on that as well. So one of the things that we haven't talked about that, we've touched on it a little bit, but it's now the elephant in the room with the trade deadline here and gone. It's past us. Something that's been talked about a little bit, and it's going to be talked about a lot after the season is over, and that's going to be the collective bargaining agreement talks and negotiations. Now, it got brought up a little bit over the weekend, obviously, with the Tarik Skubal trade to, of course, the Dodgers. And the perception amongst a lot of the media and a lot of the fans, it was just the rich getting richer for the Dodgers. Now, again, I'm not going to blame the Dodgers for going after Skubal. Why not? They're not breaking any rules. Yes, they've got the largest payroll. They've got all the money. With all that Guggenheim money, I mean, they're loaded. It's obvious. But I think what gets overshadowed with the Dodgers, too, is their farm system, their organization, how well run it is. With that being said, there's so many numbers. We talked about it a couple of days ago with their deferred money that they've got. But with this trade over the weekend, I think it really solidifies what the stance is going to be with the owners, and that's going to be the lockout. That's going to be the number one sticking point, obviously, between both sides with the players and with the owners. And with the fans, it's interesting, is that there was a poll taken, and 79% of hardcore Major League Baseball fans are in favor of a salary cap. The casual fans, 69% of folks that call themselves casual fans that don't watch baseball every day like we do, they're in favor of a salary cap as well. So that's my big question for you. I'd love to see what your response is on this question. Are you in favor of a salary cap? Do you think that's what it's going to take? And my question number 2 then, what do you think? Are we going to have a lockout? Now, I know this is going to be one of the biggest sticking points. They tried to get it back in the 90s. Didn't work out. They've tried numerous times. And, some of the crazy numbers, we'll tie this into our number segment along with the comments. But if you look at the payroll for the Dodgers right now, it's $513 million. As opposed to the payroll for the Miami Marlins is $69 million. Now, the initial proposal from the players is a $300 million salary cap, and I think like $175 million for the salary cap floor, or for the salary floor. Now, the owners have they've countered that with a $200 soft cap, not a hard cap, by the way, for the players. Now, the owners, they want a hard cap, $245 million or $243 million, and a salary cap floor of $171 million. That's crazy because, some of these numbers that you look at, you've got payrolls. Some of these teams are going to have to bump up their payroll to get to that floor. Now, included in this ownership proposal is going to be a revenue share of all local media, regional media monies. So that's going to help them bump that up. But I think it's very precarious, when you've got teams that are going to have to be forced to spend. I can see a salary floor, no matter what the number is going to be. That's going to be an adjustment for some of these teams. Now, I know that with the proposal from the owners, that would make the payroll disparity about 1.5 times. Right now, if you look at all 30 teams, the payroll disparity is almost 7 times. Again, from $69 million to $513 million. And, I think something that's going to have to be addressed too is the issue of the deferred payments, the deferred monies. I mean, I don't know how there can't be something addressed with this. We touched on that on Monday. Some of these low-income, low-market teams just, they can't afford these deferred payments, be able to defer these payments into the next decade or the decade after that. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I guess I'm really concerned about that with the salary cap. With the negotiations, because that's going to be the driving force in these negotiations. Now, I saw that the minimum salary, the players want $1 million, which I think the owners will probably do. I think, the draft, the length of the draft, all the small things, I think they're going to be worked out. But this salary cap thing obviously is going to be the sticking point. And I think it's about time for a salary cap. I really do, because it seems to be working in all 4 of the other leagues. I mean, you just look at some of the numbers, and, again, it's just, I think it's time. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with some of these numbers, with some of these negotiations. So those are just a few of the numbers that you're looking at here with the contract talks. Again, it's early. Now, I've been involved in contract negotiations with my previous job. I've been through them. It's tenuous. It gets very tenuous. These offers right now on both sides, we know that's their initial offers. And so, both sides are asking for the moon. And so that's just the way how it goes. But I do think there is going to be a lockout on December 1st. I really do. And I just have this feeling that the talks are going to go into next year. And I think there's going to be some type of a work stoppage or a delay to the start of the season. I honestly have a bad feeling that it could be into June before the first pitch for the Major League season in 2027. And I know the doom and gloom, you see some of the doom and gloom out there about there's a potential, some general managers and a couple of owners think that the 2027 season will be a wash. I don't know if I'd go that far, because when you start missing payments, you start missing income, you start missing paychecks, I think that's when the two sides will probably really buckle down and get together. But we thought we would talk a little bit about it today, because it is the elephant in the room right now. We've only got, about 3 months left of the baseball season, and then a month after that is when the lockouts or the CBA expires on December 1st. So my question to you today is, number one, are you in favor of a hard salary cap in Major League Baseball? And my second question is, do you think that there's going to be a lockout? Do you think we're going to have a season? Is it going to start late? Just some of the things we'd like to see your response on and see what you think, as the collective bargaining agreement expires on November 30th or December 1st, rather. That's going to be the key date once we get done with the regular season and the playoffs and the World Series, something that we hope that, of course, our Tigers may be a part of in October. All right, let's take a look now at the latest standings in Major League Baseball as we get through last night's game. The Yankees, they're the top team in the wild card right now. They trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 3.5. The Red Sox won again. The Red Sox, they're at like 30-4 right now over their last 34 games. Absolutely unbelievable run for them. Kind of mirrors the 84 Tigers with the start they had with that 35-5 start. The Red Sox now 10 games over 500. They're in third place. The White Sox, the Guardians, and the Twins, yesterday we talked about it. They all lost last night. The Tigers won, so they gained a game on all 3 of those teams. Now the Tigers just 4.5 out of the division lead. The Guardians still 3 back of the White Sox, and the Twins are 4 back. And in the West, Houston won again. They're now 2.5 games up on the Rangers, and the Mariners, who lost to the Tigers, are now 3.5 out. The Braves, their lead is 7.5 over the Phillies. They're both on some good winning streaks. The Marlins lost, so they're now 10.5 out. The Brewers, they won, and the Cubs both won, so they're 5.5 behind are the Cubs of the Milwaukee Brewers for first place. And the Dodgers lost their 5th straight yesterday, as they are still with a 9-game lead over the Diamondbacks, who lost. And we talk about the wild card. The Yankees, as we mentioned, they've got the top spot now, and Boston with the 2nd spot. The Guardians, currently at 500, have the last wild card spot. The Twins are a game back. The Rangers are a game back. And then the Tigers and the Orioles are tied at a game and a half back. And the Mariners are 2 back. And the Blue Jays are at 4 back. So real jumbled in the American League. The Diamondbacks still hold the final wild card spot in the National League. The Phillies are a game up on them. The Cubs hold the first one. The Padres are 1 back. And the Marlins are 2 back, with the Pirates 3.5 back and the Cardinals 4 back. They're kind of jumbled up as well in the National League. So still, so many teams have an opportunity to make it in the wild card positions in both the American and the National League. So that's what's going to make September that much more fun. And we get to see how the moves at the trade deadline affected the teams in both the American and the National League. So we talked about the big numbers, a few stats, again, for the Tigers, as we mentioned. 72 runs, that's the big one. 72 runs in their last 7 games. A great stretch for the Tigers, as they've averaged over 10 runs a game. Now, again, I know it's the Athletics. I get it. And, I know it's the Mariners who've been scuffling a little bit, but why not? In the Baltimore Orioles. But we only won one of those games against the Orioles. So in that 7-game stretch, Detroit, of course, 5-2 with those 72 runs. So let's see if they can add to that as well. So, and again, when we talk about numbers and stats, again, going back to the CBA talk again, the salary discrepancy between the Dodgers and the Marlins, $513 million to $69 million for the Marlins. So a 7-time difference in the salary discrepancy. That's why I think you're going to see some type of a salary cap and a salary floor. All right, again, the Tigers, with the win last night, 8-0 over the Mariners. All right, let's get to, as we like to do every day, let's get to some of the comments. And again, the question we asked, what was your grade on the trades? What did you think about the trades? Your final look at the trades, some of the comments. We'll go back to James, T9C5D. I would rather have Skubal go to the Yankees, Braves, Brewers, Rays. LA already has a great team. They don't need Skubal. It's all about the money. Tony M, 2513, he chimes in, and he also points out that this is the first time a player has been traded for 2 top 100 prospects. And also Sonofilt, a solid B for the trade. And Visto, 3129, a trade deadline issue begins and ends with Chris Ilitch. And he goes on to talk about, his not very good ownership with the Wings and the Tigers, which is hard to argue. And he also ends with, however, there's no denying that spending on the Tigers and the Wings has been meager in recent times. And Scott Harris can't spend the money that Chris Ilitch won't give him. That's a very good point right there. And Jamie Q7D said, what does it matter what the grades of the trades are? The statement this makes is that ownership is not going to keep these guys because they don't want to pay them. The owners have created the mess with the ridiculous salaries. Ultimately, we the fans get screwed. Well, he might have a point there as well. All right, with just scrolling down, some of the other comments. Stupid Jero 93, I think I pronounced that right. Absolutely the right move by Harris. This bullpen will lose you every close playoff game there is. No more signing players 8 to 10 years in their late 20s and early 30s. There is an absolute chance Skubal has peaked and played his best years as a Tiger, but nobody knows. And that's the key right there. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the next couple of that's the qualifier. That's the thing with these trades. It's like what we said yesterday. The buzzword right now, the P words, potential and prospects. That's what everything is. It's all a gamble. And that's what sports is all about when you make trades. It's all a gamble. You just never know. I mean, Harris could look like a genius with some of these young kids that are coming up here in the next couple of years, with Cash Mayfield, with River Ryan, with Zaire Hope. It looks good. It looks promising. But until they produce at the major league level, we're just never going to know if these were indeed great trades, getting rid of Skubal and Mize. Then again, you look at what they could potentially get as far as a paycheck. You know, Skubal's still looking at a $300 million payday at minimum, and Mize is probably looking at least $100 million, if not more. So that's almost a $500 million. Mind-boggling numbers. And one wonders, again, you start to look at that salary cap, that buzzword that nobody wants to talk about in negotiations right now. So it all leads back to that. So, again, all of those things, it all goes back to what if, what could be, what might be. And that's what all these trades ultimately are all about. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this edition of Tigers Daily. Again, our two questions that we want to see if you can answer for us. Do you think there's going to be a lockout next year in Major League Baseball? And the other question is, are you in favor of a salary cap in Major League Baseball to try to make things a little bit more even, with a little more parity in Major League Baseball? Those are the two questions I'd love to see your response to, and we'll go over them tomorrow. That's going to do it, as I mentioned, for this edition of Tigers Daily. Until next time, Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. So long.